Good afternoon, City of Refuge. Thank you for taking a few minutes to join me today for another video update. I just want to share some reminders with you and just share a couple of things that are on my heart today. So thank you all for continuing to stay connected, for staying up to date here with the Facebook page, with the website and the emails. It is good to see you. It is good to hear from you. And to know that even though we're not together physically, that our hearts and our spirits are staying united in God's goodness and in God's care. So just a couple of quick reminders. Sunday we will again have service on our Facebook Live page. At 10 o'clock Sunday morning, we'll have our time of worship, our time of intercession, and as well as our sharing of the Word. Thank you for joining us. Please continue to share, continue to comment, to let us know that you're there watching. Continue to send messages if you have prayer requests or if you have needs or things that we can help with. I want to also let you know that next Friday, so a week from today, Melissa is going to be doing another Facebook Live encouragement for women. That'll be next Friday night, 7 o'clock on the church Facebook page. Also, we are continuing to collect food, to collect groceries and other food for our community. The police department, the school district, the police chaplains, and some of the local churches, everyone just continues to be so generous and to help. And so we want to continue to be a part of that. And so if you have want to continue giving groceries, you can drop them off here with us. If you need the list again of things that they're collecting, just send us a direct message and we'll get an email to you with all of the things that are needed. We're continuing also to send support, money for support for food relief to Mindanao and the Philippines. Thank you so much for your generosity. This week we were able to send more support for another 1,100 pounds of rice to be distributed through both One Life Ministries as well as Acts of Kindness Foundation. I did get word this week that the price of rice increased. Business is business, I guess. And so even during a time of pandemic, the price of rice increased from $45 to $55 per 50 kilogram sack of rice. And so we will continue to send support every week. If you'd like to continue giving, or if you'd like to give to that, you can do it through our website, cityofrefugefellowship.org. If you go to the giving page, there is a spot there specifically for Gospel Clown and General Santos, the Philippines. All of the gifts given there will be going toward food relief for this time. If you would be more comfortable, you can send a payment to City of Refuge Fellowship. You can send it to 945 Bordentown Road, Burlington, New Jersey, and we will make sure that all of that gets sent there. So during this time where we're all in a similar position, I just want to thank you for being willing to give, generously, for kind of being willing to give beyond ourselves, to make sure that we're not just gathering for ourselves, but trusting God to take care of us to the point of where we're willing to take care of others. I know that jobs are continuing to be lost. Trials are continuing to come, and so I just want to share with you as our church family, if you find yourself in difficulty, please let us know. If you find yourself losing a job, if you find yourself needing rent assistance, if you find yourself needing help with your own groceries, please know that while we're helping the community, while we're helping overseas, we want to help each other. And so if you have need of any kind, please reach out to Melissa and I. Please let us know so that we can be a part of helping, a part of just being God's provision to God's people during this time. I want to share with you today, I've just been thinking a lot about what we know. One of my mantras, one of the things I go back to often, whether it's for myself personally or even in counseling with you, is to concentrate on the things we know. That when life gets uncertain, when difficulty comes, when we start to feel the burden of anxiety, that we go back and concentrate on reminding ourselves of what we know. Romans chapter 8 verse 28 is a verse that many of us have memorized. And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called together according to His purpose. We concentrate on the all things work for good. But I think the most important part of that verse is, and we know. And so my question today is, do we know it? do we really know that all things work for good? Do we really know that God is in control, that God is in charge, that God is in this, that God is working to provide, and that He's working to protect, and that He's even working to bring about salvation through this season that we find ourselves in? See, we can quote things, and we can say things, and we can hope things, but until we know those things, until they find themselves deep in our hearts, then they really are things that we're trying to get to rather than things that we're standing on. Something that I'm discovering for myself is that knowledge is useless until it informs and until it directs our actions. And so I want to ask us as a group of people, as a church, and then also as individuals, are we relying on our knowledge that God is working for good? Are our actions, are our thoughts, are our conversations flowing from our knowledge of God's character, or are they being informed by the anxiety of all the uncertainty that we continue to face? And so what I'd like for us to do together and as families over the course of this weekend is let's just answer this question. What are we seeing that's good? Instead of putting all of our attention on the struggle, on the difficulty, on the hardship, what are we seeing that's good? Just this morning I spent some time with this myself because I wanted to practice it before I asked you to start doing it. And I just spent some time asking myself, what's the good that I'm seeing that's happening in this season? And so there's a few things that I've started seeing that I want to share with you. One of the big good things that is good that I'm seeing is just how our community is coming together. Every week I get to deliver things to churches, I get to deliver things to the schools that you're dropping off here. In our little community of Burlington, hundreds of meals are being provided every single day. Bag lunches are being dropped off. People are coming to the schools. The police department is going from house to house, delivering food to people that need it. Local restaurants are giving. Local restaurants are giving from their business is reduced, and yet they're giving from what they have to make sure that our community has things like milk and eggs and bread and dry goods and groceries. This week in our community, because it was spring break, we had a lack in some of the food that was going to be available. And so our local Chick-fil-A stepped in and took care of that. And they donated sandwiches one day of the week so that people had the food that they were used to. It is good to see people rally around each other. It's good to see people go beyond themselves. It's good to see people do more than just worry about themselves. I've heard from people that are doing for their neighbors, that are dropping off groceries. Just yesterday, one of my friends reached out and said that they had baked some bread for one of the neighbors, and that when they went to drop it off, the child took it and ran away with it, that they couldn't wait to go open the bread and to eat it for themselves. Those are good things. They're beautiful things, and they're just reminders that God is working, and He especially desires to work in us and work through us. This morning I got an email from a friend of mine who was telling me about during this season that he's stuck at home like many of us are with family members that aren't always at home together. And some of those family members aren't believers, and they're worried, and they're even afraid of catching the virus. They're worried about the economy. They're worried about what's going on. And so what he told me he's doing is that he started a Bible study there at home a couple nights a week. They're studying the book of John. And so how much good can we see? That now we have at least this one family that is studying the scriptures together because of their fear. And so while we look at it and say, what good could come of this? There is so much good that God is doing. Just think about how many people are watching church services that wouldn't go to church. How many people are hearing the gospel on a regular basis that would not regularly take the time or the energy or even think that it was important to find a place of worship. Those are good things that God's doing. I know personally, I have friends that haven't been in church for a long time, some that have never been in church, and here they are watching church services. Here they are actually including themselves as part of the church, being drawn near to Christ because of this season. Just this week, a friend of mine woke up one morning and said, I want to give my life to the Lord. I had the opportunity yesterday to pray with him, to help him in that process, to confess his sins and to be forgiven, to not just invite Jesus in, but to surrender his life to Jesus. And so much of that was because of where we are right now. And so I'm going to remind you of what I believe and what I've been sharing with you for this last month or so. God is in this. Jesus promised us that the Father is always at work and I too am working. So here's what we can know if we'll choose to believe it. God is at work. Are we willing to join Him? Let's not get so lost in where we are that we forget that God is here with us, that He's doing something beyond our understanding, that He's doing something for His glory, and He's doing something for the redemption of the lost. All things work together for good. Today is the day of salvation, and God is working. These are things that we know, and so I encourage you, let them be things that you talk about this weekend. Remind each other of them, and sit together at some point, whether you sit down for a meal or you sit down in the quiet of your home, sit with your family and ask each other, what's the good that you're seeing? What's the good that God's doing? Because we're hearing a lot about the trouble that's being caused. But what about the good that God's doing? And so I want to encourage us, let's keep praying. Keep praying for the salvation of the lost, for protection, especially protection of those that are on the front lines, for doctors and nurses, for those in supermarkets, for those that are delivering our mail, for those that are out delivering food, for our first responders. Pray for their protection. Pray for God's provision for those that are without work, for those that are losing hours or even losing jobs. And pray for God to show His mercy in the midst of all of this. Continue serving. Find a place to serve. You can give to our community. You can give internationally. You can give to our missionaries. But you can give to your neighbors. Step next door. Go out on your porch. Go on your sidewalk and ask if people are okay. Ask if they need anything. Ask if you can pray for them. Ask if they're seeing anything good that's happening during this season. And stay connected. Continue calling and texting. Continue writing notes. Continue with the video chats and the different things that are going on. Continue watching services and watching Bible study. Stay connected with each other. If we will pray and we will serve and we will connect, we will see that there is more good happening in this season than we could have ever imagined. And finally, I just want to tell you, if you have ways that we can help you stay connected, I know Melissa's doing the chat with the women next week. We have Bible study, we have church, we have Zoom prayer meeting. But if there are things that you need, please reach out to us. Send an email, send a direct message, send us a text. Reach out and say, I could use this. I think maybe we as a group could use more of this. Please don't hesitate to let us know what you need. It's our desire to stay connected with you. We don't have to gather in person to be together in spirit. And while we're all looking forward to when we're together again in body, let's not miss what God's doing for us or what God's doing through us. I want to take you back to one of the things that Henry Blackaby teaches in Experiencing God. He says to always do the last thing God says until He says a new thing. And so just because we're in a new season doesn't mean that God has changed what He wants from me or what He wants from you. And so I want to encourage you, whatever you've heard from God, keep doing it. Stay faithful, stay obedient, stay consistent. Don't let a change of schedule make us think that we have a change of calling or a change of purpose. Don't let the world's change be our change. And so I just want to remind you, we as a people, City of Refuge, we are called to pray. Don't stop praying. We are called to serve, find ways to serve. And we are called to devote ourselves to fellowship, to connect with each other. Let's not think that this is a pause. It is not a pause. It is an opportunity to go further. It is an opportunity to grow deeper. It is an opportunity to be more obedient than we've been so far. Devote yourself to the Word. Devote yourself to God's presence. And let's stay devoted to God's people. Again, Sunday, we'll see you at 10 o'clock here on Facebook Live for our next service. Again, invite people, share. If you have comments, leave them. If you have needs, let us know. We love you, and we do miss you. But I'm going to be honest with you. I am so excited by what I see God doing through your life, what I'm hearing about from your testimonies, and what I'm watching happen in our community. God is in this. Jesus is being glorified. And I believe with all of my heart that this week I got to be a part of one man's redemption. I believe that's going to multiply. And what we're going to see is throughout the earth, souls being saved, lives being changed, and a preparation for God's people to stir up our gifts and to be used for God's glory. God bless you. If you need us, let us know. We'll see you soon.